I just had to. What are we all thinking? How are we feeling? I'm gonna wait for, okay, I just had to get things going. Okay, we just watched, hopefully you watched, if you were able to watch, we have a new First Presidency. It is President Oaks is Prophet. President Eyring is in there, and then Elder Christofferson, President Christofferson. I it's thrilling to know that we live at a time where we have prophets and apostles. Let me know what you think. Yeah, I thought it would be Uchtdorf and Bednar, but I am happy with it. Yeah. Okay, so I am honestly thrilled. I love Elder Christofferson. President Eyring, he has always been in the First Presidency, like ever since I've been alive, I think. Okay, were you crying? I wasn't crying. Okay, watch from New Zealand. I'm so grateful. Did you hear President Holland's comment about this moment? Okay, you guys, there's a lot of things I want to dive in and talk about because this was really, really interesting. I remember watching with President Nelson, and he was in the temple, and remember when he was like, begin with the end in mind. You guys, begin with the end in mind. If that is carrying over to President Oaks' presidency, it's just so interesting that he chose to have this announcement of a new prophet, new First Presidency in front of that mural. The mural of Christ inviting all to come to him. The mural of the second coming of Jesus Christ. And they talked about how, was it Elder Holland? Or no, it was President Eyring. I forgot now. I wrote it down, but I can't get into my notes. Where they testified that we are preparing the world for the second coming of Jesus Christ, and that President Oaks is the man for the job. That he's been called of God. Oh, it's just so exciting. And it was in front of that mural. Remember, I posted a video earlier. If you didn't see my message, I pointed out that was an interesting picture to put for this announcement. Like, oh, interesting picture of the second coming. That's interesting. And yet they were in front of that mural. We're preparing for the second coming. He's coming. Okay, what is everyone thinking? Let me know. Definitely shocked, but will sustain. Yeah, I mean, what else are you gonna do? Okay, totally thought Christofferson. There is so much. This is so exciting. I got to watch with my homeschooled 16-year-old son and husband. Even so, come, Lord Jesus, come. Yes, come. Please come. Yes, my thoughts exactly. The mural. Yes. You guys, the mural. And it was so... It was like Christ was at the head. They were there. I got pictures. I'll be posting them. I've been posting a lot of stuff on Instagram. So those of you who do have Instagram, go follow me over there. That's kind of like where I post like the first of the first things. Okay. In less than 3 hours, over 2,500,000 saints gathered on YouTube to hear the announcement. We can gather in a heartbeat when needed. Yeah, like everyone dropped everything, and like, granted, we're what, 18 million, like almost 18 million, like there's some room to grow there, but yeah, that's amazing that 250,000 gathered for that. And it's like, what Oh, it just is so thrilling to me. Yeah. Okay, Mindy's here. She says the perfect man for the job, a judge, a lawyer, a scientist, and U.S. weapons analyst for the U.S. Air Force. What? That's cool. Okay, I'm going to screenshot that comment because that's neat. Okay. My daughter watched it in seminary. That's exciting. Okay. Randomly saw Elder Christofferson is a lawyer. Okay. He straight up said that the church is preparing the world for the second coming and then said that Oaks is the one for the job. Thank you for that. Yes. You guys, I don't feel crazy anymore. When I started my YouTube channel, I was like, I'm crazy. That's it. I'm crazy. Because no one, like, the second coming was like kind of starting to get talked about a little bit. And President Nelson opened that door wide open. He really did. He really did. But you guys, we are living in a day where we are preparing the world for the second coming of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. One of these days, that will be fulfilled. One of these days, us, our children, our grandchildren will witness that Christ came. I don't think we're far off. Now, you think about the past and how they talked about the second coming, and I've talked about this a lot on my channel. But why such an emphasis of the second coming if we're not even close? You guys, we're close. We are prepared. We are the ones sent to earth to prepare ourselves and the world for the second coming. President Oaks said in his address today, he said, there is a lot to do because this church, this gospel is for the whole world. Now notice that in the announcement, it said we invite all to watch this special announcement. Yeah, because he's not just the prophet for our church. He is the prophet for the entire world. Oh, it's thrilling. And we have to talk about it. Like, are we sharing with everyone we know that we have a prophet just like Moses? Just like Moses. Wasn't that Elder Holland that said that today, President Holland? It's true. It's true. Okay, I'm going to get back. These things definitely aren't by chance. Yes, he was a lawyer. Exciting. I love what President Eyring said. The second coming is so close. Yes, the greatest cause. So stoked. 2 lawyers and a scientist. Aren't we missing some apostles? No announcement on that. Okay, so the announcement for the apostles. I want to make sure that my daughter's okay out here. The announcement for the apostles, that is under the direct, like, what? The prophet is the one who calls, there you are, who calls new apostles. So it would make sense that we would need a prophet. I know that I understand that they are all prophets of God. We sustain them as prophets, seers, and revelators, but it is under the prophet, the president of the church, to call a new apostle. So it would seem to me that it makes sense that he would be sustained. And then after the sustaining, which he was sustained, he was set apart. So after he's set apart, which he now is, we now have, he's our prophet. He would have the ability, he would have the authority to call a new apostle. 2 lawyers to help when the Constitution hangs by a thread. Yes. Okay. President Oaks emphasized a lot. He wants us all to know that we are to minister to all of the children on the face of the earth, every person on earth. I have an insight into this. Oh, interesting. Email me if you can. But yeah, like we are whether the world accepts them as a prophet or not. It is our divine mandate as a church, as members of the church, as prophets and apostles, but like us too. We have been asked to testify to the world that we have prophets and apostles today, and that Jesus Christ has restored his church with his power, his authority. Are we doing that? Are we doing that? Okay. And that President Oaks is the perfect one to do these. Yes. Okay. Was Elder Holland's title changed? Did I hear that right? From acting president to the president of the 12? Yes. So the order goes president of seniority. The order of seniority is President Oaks and then President Holland. So if President Holland would have been called to the First Presidency, then President Eyring, if he was not called to the First Presidency, would have been acting president of the Quorum of the 12, because he would, the president would have been in a different capacity. So because President Holland was not put into the First Presidency, he now becomes, someone just said it's delayed. It's probably because I'm outside. Because he's not in the First Presidency, he has now taken his place as the president of the Quorum of the 12, which before he was not, because President, when President Nelson was alive, President Oaks was the president of the Quorum of the 12, but he was in the First Presidency. So President Holland was the acting president. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Okay. What Elder Eyring said. Yes. Yes, he is now. Okay. Baby, it's okay. Okay. I love that President Oak spoke about how we are to serve all of the children of God. Yes. Okay, we are still in line for the JST Matthew version of the days of Noah, with Eyring in line as stated. Yeah, so Nelson, Oaks. Yeah. No, the next prophet would be President Holland, though. Like if President Oaks were to die, President Holland would be the next in line. Sorry that this video is delayed. I know it's easier to hear when I'm inside. My daughter's like, I want you outside. Okay, Mindy says the judge, discernment, a justice, lawyer, defender of the law, and the covenant, and the scientist, light, truth, and creation. That's so interesting. Okay, anything else that anyone wants to say? Yes, that's correct. Holland would be after Oaks. So, yeah. Anyway, she is not having me be on here right now. Okay, anything else that anyone else wants to say? This is exciting. I guess two things before I get done. One, it's okay. Okay, go swing. I need to be on my internet connection. That's nice, huh? Two things I want to say is, one, that I wonder if I can turn off my internet and it will still. Okay. I'll just keep talking. Okay, the two things were, one, that prophets are called of God. God knows what we need now. He knows what the world needs right now. And his works will not be frustrated. The second thing I want to say that piggybacks off of that is we have an opportunity right now to put our trust in the Lord and put our trust that God knows what he's doing. And we do not know more than God. And as we hear and hearken to what God's, oh, okay, as we hearken to what the Lord's prophet says, President Oaks, as we hear him and as we follow him, we will come to know Jesus Christ better, and we will come to know that he truly is a prophet of God. We have the opportunity now to receive a confirmation that prophets and apostles are called of God. And I love this opportunity every time it comes, because when I think I know better than God, I'm reminded really quickly that I'm not. And that I don't know more than God. I'm reminded really fast that God knows exactly what we need and when we need it. I am grateful, and I can testify that President Oaks, President Eyring, and President Christofferson are the men for the job. I know that this is who God needs to lead the church right now, and I'm grateful for it. Okay, I'm gonna catch up on this. Love that God is a God of order. Yes, love how Eyring confirmed that we are in fact the final preparation of the Lord's coming, but I guess we knew that. I love that he did say that, because I think a lot of people, I read a lot of comments, and honestly I felt it too, of this hesitancy. Like, did the second coming just become less important? Because and I'll show you, I'll do the work. I'll do the work to show you guys this, and I'll make a video of it. But President Oaks has not talked about the second coming like President Nelson did. And you guys know my timeline that I did. Timeline is like a very loose term for this, but of all the times presidents, prophets, people who would become prophets have said the second coming, the phrase second coming, President Oaks is like 4. Like I looked the other day and I was like, oh, well, shoot, and so it made me a little nervous, like, oh, maybe I'm delusional, maybe all these things. But I do love, just like Lisa said, that yeah, we are in the final preparation of the Lord's coming, that he is coming. And that President Oaks is the man for the job, and that they just said that in front of the mural of the second coming, portraying it. Begin with the end in mind. Okay, cool. Okay, let's see. That was lovely. My 16-year-old, cute, but not, what? Okay. We have a new First Presidency, so excited. Yes, this is Christ's church, and God is a God of order. And we have a living prophet and apostles to help us guide today. Yes. No, he's had at least 2 pretty big second coming talks as an apostle. Yeah, one was in like 2004 though. Like, he doesn't talk about it super frequently, but when he does, it's like a big deal. The one in 2004 was all about the second coming. I think it was titled Preparation for the Second Coming. So yeah, it's not that he hasn't like talked about it. It's just that it's not as frequent. But you know what's really interesting? I've listened to up until 2015 of President Oaks talks. I started right at the beginning when he became an apostle, and I've listened. Even though he doesn't mention the second coming, one thing that is consistent across the board with him, and it's not necessarily a phrase, but it is the idea of how do I word this? Like the 3 degrees of glory. He has taught about our eternal destiny over and over and over again. And I wonder if I've said in a previous video that it's kind of like a natural progression to talk about the second coming and then talk about Zion and kind of this like millennial reign. And it makes me wonder if President Oaks hasn't talked a lot necessarily about the second coming, because he's been talking about the final judgment, this judgment that will separate us into celestial, telestial, or terrestrial. You know, like that has been his focus for a lot of his talks. And it's interesting that even this talk that he talks about or in October, this, a week ago, was all about the family, which we know that it is through families that we are exalted. And so he is trying to get us to the celestial kingdom. So it's just so interesting that President Nelson was like, yeah, second coming, second coming, second coming. And he's like, final judgment, final judgment, final judgment. And are we going to be judged in the celestial kingdom? That's our goal. That's our goal right there. Okay. And he's likely only to increase that now as prophet. Maybe President Nelson was just warming up for talking about second coming. Okay. Oh, one was in December 20. Oh, that's right, at the Christmas thing. Okay. I believe that when President Oaks talking about all children of God and the restored church of Jesus Christ needs to serve all children of God, we are in preparation for the second coming of Jesus Christ. Absolutely. That's the gathering of Israel right there. And it confirms to me that President Oaks is a prophet of the world. Yes, absolutely. Okay, I think that he will now, that he has the mantle of prophet for the church placed upon him. Yes. Preparing us for the bar of God. Exactly. That's the thing, is it's like, the judgment, like if anyone is going to talk about final judgment, wouldn't it be a judge? It's so exciting. Okay, anyway, all right, I love you all. You're welcome for being live. I'm so happy to do it. If you haven't already, go follow me on Instagram. We'll be talking about it. We've talked about a lot of cool stuff recently on Instagram. By now it's all erased and it's it's saved on a bubble, but it's talking about the two witnesses. I know that I did a video on it. I know that I got some flack on that. I stick with it. I don't know. I stick with what I said. And anyway, so if you want to go check that out on social media, my Instagram. And yes, it absolutely is an exciting time. I am grateful to have prophets and apostles who guide the church. Jesus Christ is the head, and he directs the church through prophets and apostles. Okay. And yeah, President Eyring did use interesting wording, and he pointed us to the fact that President Oaks is the man for the job. And I'm grateful for that. By the way, I loved how President Eyring was like, I too was surprised. It's like, really? You've been in the First Presidency for like decades. He's so cute. But anyway, I'm so excited. So, okay. I think that's all in the chat. I don't think I missed anyone. So we will talk soon. Bye, everyone.